Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. I'm the host of the show. You can go to my website, toldtutor.net, for more information. Twitter, Told Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Told Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, and Google+, and also on Periscope at Total Tutor. And it's exciting. Now I'm doing some phoners. First couple of weeks, we saw some in-studio guests. Phenomenal about Pittsburgh. Well, let's go national now. And oh my gosh, do we have some awesome guests the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited to welcome to the program New York Times best-selling author Steve Alten. Steve, thanks for calling, and how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited to talk to you. And what I always do with authors, celebrities, is kind of learn a little bit about their background in certain ways and tell a story, and then we'll go into all the different projects you're promoting right now. Now, Steve, all your life, did you want to be an author? Was that something growing up you wanted to do?
No, actually, I wanted to be a professional basketball player, and then I wanted to be a coach, a college coach.
Oh, really?
And I took my playing career as far as a slow white Jewish guy could take it, and then was able to. I was a graduate assistant at the University of Delaware after playing at Penn State for a little bit, and was able to help the assistant coach of the varsity and coach the JV team, and went on for 4 more years. When I was earning a doctorate degree at Temple University, had an opportunity to work with a legendary basketball Hall of Fame coach, John Chaney.
Oh, wow.
And learned a lot from the man. But after 10 straight years of school, I opened up a business selling whole house water treatment equipment and moved down to Florida and tried it there and struggled for a while. And then that's when I decided I wanted to become an author when I was the ripe old age of 35.
No, Steve, that's interesting. So you were a pretty good basketball player then, right? For sure, and got some opportunities to really play with some legends, didn't you?
Well, I was, I was, good as a, comparative thing. I was not good enough to play Division I, but decided I wanted to coach in Division I.
Right. So you in summer leagues and stuff, you got to play with some pretty interesting people. It's kind of funny because a couple of weeks ago on this show, we interviewed Jarrell Porter, played for the University of Pittsburgh, and was part of that Big East team, Pitt, that was really, really good. The years with Charles Smith and Jerome Lane. Take us back, Steve, to the time when you were playing. Who were you playing against, especially when coaching and stuff like that with Temple and all that? What years were we talking?
Well, Temple, I was sort of able to work informally with the team, showed up to their 5 a.m. basketball practices and was able to go into the locker room and meet with the coaching staff and things like that. But I sort of pushed that all aside to pursue some business opportunities.
Gotcha. And all right, let's go into specifically when you first wanted to write a book. So you said, okay, business wasn't going, and then I somehow decided to write. So tell us specifically when you wrote your first book, if you thought it was going to be successful, especially being a New York Times best-selling author and the movies and all that stuff, for sure.
Well, it started with an idea. I picked up a Time magazine, and on the front cover was the Mariana Trench, and the Mariana Trench is a 1,500-mile long unexplored gorge 7 miles down at the bottom of the Western Pacific. And the article on Time talked about the Mariana Trench and talked about hydrothermal vents and all these undiscovered life forms. And when I read the article, I thought, when I was younger, when I was 15, 16 years old, I'd read Jaws, and I had gotten hooked on reading about great white sharks. And there was always a blurb about this prehistoric cousin of the great white, Carcharodon megalodon, and there was, I looked at the article and I thought, what if I married those two ideas together, that the megalodon was still alive in the Mariana Trench? So I went to the library because there was no internet back in '95, and I found this Smithsonian shot I was looking for with 6 nerdy-looking scientists sitting in this huge jaw, and I thought, I'm going to write this book. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great concept for a movie and a book. And I want to get behind it. So I set a goal that I was going to do this. I was going to spend the next 30 days researching the book and creating a synopsis of the story. And then because I had a job, what I call a JOB, a just over broke, I had to work on the book from 10 o'clock at night till about 3 in the morning and on weekends. And I set the goal that, I was going to write this book in 6 months.
Okay.
And then see what happened.
So you write the book in 6 months, and what happens? Take us back to that time.
Well, I had this manuscript after 6 months that I don't know what to do with. So I got a book out called, basically Publishing for Dummies. And it said that, you really need representation.
Right.
And it gave a list of agents who handled fiction in the back of the book. And I sent out a 2-page query letter, as it instructed me to do, to every agent who handled fiction. And of these 60, 70 letters that I sent out, I got about 30 of them back with on a 3x5 card. It said, thanks, but, we're too busy. I heard back from one agent who was interested, a guy named Ken Atchity. And Ken was interested, but he wanted money to edit the book. He felt that, editing a book is like cutting open a fish. He said you chop off the head and chop off the tail and start with the meat in the middle. And Meg needed a lot of editing, and he asked me for a significant sum of money, which I didn't have, but I did have a 71 Chevy Malibu convertible that my dad had bought me when I was 17 years old, and it was sort of a second car. So I sold the second car and paid for the editing fees, and then we edited the book together. And back in September of 1996, on September 13th, Friday the 13th, my good luck day, I went to work. I was working as a general manager of a wholesale meat company at the time, which is a strange story unto itself. But I went to work and found that I had been let go.
Oh, my.
I went home, no money in the bank. Friday the 13th, lost my job, and my wife was upset, and I said, hon, this is the best thing that could happen now that I'm, the time I could work on my second book, and it's not what she wanted to hear. And 4 days later, Meg went out to the 6 biggest publishing houses in the country, and buoyed by the fact that we had just signed a first look deal with Disney's Hollywood Pictures for the rights to the book.
Oh, my.
I hadn't been paid yet. I hadn't even gotten the contract yet, but I just agreed verbally to the deal. Meg and this concept for the second book was sold for a 2-book, 7-figure deal with Bantam Doubleday.
Wow. So you have a success story, but I think being an entrepreneur, Steve, helped a lot because you did it the right way. You went ahead and learned about how to go about publishing a book, make sure you get the right representation, right editing, and the idea, and then it took off from there, it sounds like, right?
It took off, and it was like a roller coaster ride. Going up was great. We had this 2-book, 7-figure deal with Bantam Doubleday, the publisher who had published Jaws 25 years earlier. And we had the Frankfurt Book Fair, which Doubleday owned the rights, the foreign rights to the book. And they went out and sold it to about 25 different countries, and it was the book of the Frankfurt Book Fair in 1996.
Oh, okay.
And so, things took off, and, it was a sort of a rags to riches story they played up. I was on a Today Show, and,
right.
The book became a New York Times bestseller and sold overseas very well. But the second book I went on to write had to deal with this Mayan counter doomsday prophecy. This was back in '98, so I was ahead of the curve. But Doubleday didn't want a Mayan calendar book. They wanted another underwater story.
Oh, my.
So every time I sent in chapters, they kept, curving it back toward an underwater story. And, there was a lot of money at stake, $1 million. So what am I going to do? I'm going to give them the book that they want. But it didn't fit, and it didn't work out. And what happened was 2 weeks before I was supposed to get paid a significant amount of money, Bantam Doubleday stopped taking my phone calls, and it was a bizarre situation. And they had already paid me a little bit of an advance on the book, and then I found out that they had canceled the contract.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it was, part of the reason was because the book needed a lot of work.
Right.
Part of the reason was because the outgoing president, Bantam Doubleday was being taken over by Bertelsmann at the time, and the president was trying to save her job by making her bottom line look better, so she started canceling all these big advance contracts, and mine was one of them.
Oh,
so it sort of gave me a black eye by my publisher in an attempt to save her job, and but now I was in a pickle because my wife and I had just moved from an apartment where we were raising our family to a brand new house, and there was no way I was going to be able to afford anything because I just lost the deal. To top things off, the president of Hollywood Pictures, David Vogel, lost his job, and when a new president of a studio comes in, they never take over the project that the old president had taken over, so I lost that deal too. So I was in a bad situation. The roller coaster was falling fast, and I needed to sort of resurrect my career, even though my first book was a New York Times bestseller.
So that's an interesting story. Just because you're a New York Times bestselling author, things can go down, just like music. Seems like an athlete that it reaches its peak. But the difference is, Steve, you still have that beautiful mind. So what's the best thing to do to resurrect your career? Keep on writing, right?
Right. You know, it was setting a goal that got me started in the first place. So now I had to reset my goal and get my career back on track. And people were, you know, the publishing industry was sort of taking a pot shot at me. And so what I did was my agent said, well, first of all, we got to sue to get the rights back to the second book.
Okay.
Because if you publish it, you're going to owe this money to Doubleday. And besides, you want to get the rights free and clear. So we sued to get the rights back to the second book because I really believed in the Mayan story, yes. But I knew I wanted to write it the way I wanted to write it, not this underwater story that they were trying to push for. So we were able to make a settlement with Doubleday. They were very kind about it, and we got back the rights for the second book, which I rewrote after I wrote another book to get myself back on track, which was the sequel to Meg, which was The Trench. And it was published by Kensington Pinnacle. It also became a bestseller. Didn't get anywhere near as lucrative an author, but at least it was able to keep me going until I could regroup.
Exactly.
And I rewrote the second book as Domain, which turned out to be published by my third publisher. So I had 3 books and 3 different publishers. This was published by the great people at Tor Forge, who I published a number of books with. And Domain didn't sell that well domestically, but years later the foreign rights were sold, and the book was number 1 in Spain, and then it was number 1 in Mexico, and then it was number 1 in Argentina. And it took off worldwide. So Domain's actually my biggest seller worldwide, and I had to fight to get the rights back to it.
Unbelievable, and it's because it was a different story than the underwater story, right? That's what made it successful, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a thriller, and thrillers are what I write, but it wasn't an underwater story. But it was true to the theme of the book, which was the Mayan calendar's doomsday prophecy, which predicted humanity would end in the year 2012, and you know, it came out in 1999, so it wasn't quite ready yet for the public. But when the foreign rights were sold, it was a lot closer, and the 2012 movie had just come out, so it sort of rode that wave, and it did very well overseas. And in fact, the entire series was bestsellers overseas.
So when we get back, we're going to continue to talk to New York Times bestselling author Steve Alten about how he resurrected his career, kept writing books, kept having successful books, to finally now we're looking at movies for this. And I'm sure that's why he's really, really excited. And he's excited that he's doing what he loves, but it's a roller coaster ride. And I guess anything in entertainment's like that. You're watching The Neil Haley Show, syndicated on the Total Education Network all over the world. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Hey, ladies, if you're looking for something to do, come out to the Bethel Park Public Library's Purse Bash on Friday, November 20th at the Community Center. Tickets for the event are $25 a piece. What is a Purse Bash? We draw for a designer bag every 15 minutes. If your number's called, you win. We have a dozen purses to give away, including those from Dooney & Burke, Brahmin, Patricia Nash, Michael Kors, Coach, and others. In addition to the great designer handbags, there will be a 50-50 raffle and many baskets that will be raffled off. This is a BYOB event. Soft drinks and light snacks will be provided. Feel free to bring your own chips or some good guacamole or whatever you like. Tickets can be purchased at the library from the library's website at bethelparklibrary.org or also at Evie's True Value Hardware.
Join us Friday, November 20th at 7 p.m. in the Bethel Park Community Center, and you can be a winner just like me.
All proceeds benefit the Bethel Park Public Library. We thank you for your support.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show on the Tolducation Network. Again, toldtutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, Google+, and also on Periscope at Total Tutor. And New York Times best-selling author Steve Alten is amazing me in so many ways because of just the story. You get a New York Times best-selling book, you get a great book deal, great movie deal. It looks like, guess what, man? I'm going to be living my dream, writing all the time, Steve, and then everything, the bottom dropped out, kind of like your Mayan prophecy, meaning like what could have happened if the world ended. So all those things happened, but the only thing you could do, Steve, is keep on writing, as we talked about before.
Yeah, and what happened was I just moved into a brand new house, bought brand new cars, and I lost it all because we had lost the movie deal and we lost the second book deal, and we just couldn't afford to stay in the house. So, we rented back again for a while, but I regathered myself and continued to write and wrote and continued to publish. And about 2005, I hooked up with a friend of mine, Nick Nunziata, who is the founder of Chud.com, Cinematic Happenings Under Development. And when he found out that the rights to Meg belonged to me,
yes,
he showed the book to his a friend of his, Guillermo del Toro, the director.
Okay.
And Guillermo had just done Hellboy with Lloyd Levin, and we showed it to producer Lloyd Levin, and they agreed to option the book rights, and based upon a script that I had written, and we were able to attach Jan de Bont as director. And in 2005, New Line Cinema optioned Meg, and what they did was they attached a different screenwriter, Shane Salerno, and for the next couple of years it was a struggle because the producers weren't getting along, and the script wasn't really good for the story, and the rights returned back to me, and then so I, been left at the altar twice with the movie deal, but I believed in the story. I just believed that I didn't have the right people attached as producers.
Right.
So I attached a friend of mine. I sold her the entire rights to the story, Belle Avery, and Belle Avery was a very tenacious producer who believed totally in Meg in this series and believed it could be a billion-dollar franchise. And she spent the next 6 or 7 years getting it independently financed with people that she knew.
Okay.
And we took the package to Warner Brothers, and they've greenlit the movie.
And when was that option to Warner Brothers, Meg? What date? What year?
Well, it was this past summer.
Oh, wow. So you have you're a very successful writer. You really are coming up with ideas how to market your stories, but it's a long process, Steve, isn't it? It doesn't seem like the first thing happened overnight, but everything else seems like it's an arduous process.
Well, it's like an overnight success story, 20 years in the making. And I've been through, I've probably gone with, I've actually lost count. I think 9 or 10 different publishing houses, including the most recent one, which I've set up my own publishing house because I was able to reacquire the domestic rights to Meg, and all the foreign rights expired. So I own domestic and foreign rights to a book that just got greenlit by Warner Brothers for a major motion picture.
So now it's great because now people are going to go back and read Meg again, for sure. That might have not once the movie comes out, and if it has success, that's fantastic. So.
Well, even better, Neil, because what happened was I decided when I got the rights back that I wanted to attach a prequel that I had written just for an ebook called Meg Origins.
Okay.
And so I wanted to combine the prequel with the story. But when I went to do that, I realized my writing has really grown so much that 20 years ago, I couldn't match the same book to the new book that I just written as a prequel. So I rewrote the entire story. And it's coming out in paperback next week under a new publishing house. So you'll see Meg as a completely different cover, completely different book.
Okay.
As a 20th anniversary paperback.
And then what's amazing about that, Steve, is that the fact that you own the rights to this. So it's not like you're the publishing house in a way. So you could really do really well, especially now people that were fans of it and like the new cover say, hey, I'm going to get it. and then oh, it's a movie now too. So let's learn about the story before it comes out in the theaters. And it's been optioned, so that's a process, right, Steve? We don't know when they're gonna start filming and stuff, right? What's an option? Define what an option means. That they
no, it's it's beyond an option. We've been working on this for several years now. It's been greenlit. They attached the director, Eli Roth, who's a tremendous director, and a huge Shark fan and a big Meg fan, and he's an inspired choices director, and they're casting the movie as we speak.
Oh wow! So summer 2017. I see that. I was getting a little. So Eli Roth is the director, and that's what makes you really, really excited. Is that this is a Warner Brothers? They're going to put a lot of money into this, and if it's successful, that's going to help you with whatever rights you have for the movie and also the book. Meaning now, finally the book can continue to go, and then whenever you have another story you've written, another book, it's going to be pretty easy for you to go and market that because of your fame with Meg, right? That's going to always be that kind of claim that, okay, so another movie comes out or another book on it or different things. Do you look at writing a few for Meg? You said have a series for this. It depends on how the movie
yeah, absolutely. Every book's been a bestseller. Number 5, Night Stalkers, Meg Night Stalkers, is coming out this coming summer by Tor Forge. And there'll be one more book, a Meg 6 book in the series that will come out when the movie comes out. And Warner Brothers and the producers that are attached own all the rights to the series. And like I said, Meg 5 Night Stalkers is coming out this next summer.
And do you think, Steve, with especially the sharks in the news and the fame of Jaws and how your story's a lot different in a way because of how dangerous this animal is and the havoc that it can have the success as Jaws? Do you think it's a possibility, Steve, in your opinion, or what do you think?
Well, I don't like to compare it to Jaws because we're talking about, they're both, but we're talking about completely different creatures.
Right.
One's a great white, one's a prehistoric great white that actually existed in a different part of the ocean that survived, which is a mysterious into itself. We've never really explored the Mariana Trench, and it's this vast area at the bottom of the ocean in complete darkness, hydrothermal vents, and completely different prehistoric creatures down there. And so it's really is a different story. In a sense, it's sort of Jaws meets Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I find that just very interesting, and the storyline and everything, and the way you came up with that is great. But I see what you're saying because again, this you can't compare because this is very, very mythical in so many ways because of a prehistoric character that comes back to life in that time, and it had success the first time it released, and now the movie, and have they thought that Eli Roth is going to be directing it? So I hope it'll be clear sailing for you now, Steve. You've gone through the overnight success story, taking 20 years. I think now, hopefully, you're in the clear, right?
Well, you know what? I've been through so many ups and downs over the last 20 years that I don't think clear sailing is ever going to happen. But clear sailing doesn't make for very good sailors either. So, I've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm continuing to learn lessons and continuing to develop as an author, and I hope that never stops. And I've attached myself to a great producer and a great friend, Belle Avery, and she's got a number of my projects under her belt that she's got a lot of irons in the fire. Things like Sharkman and The Lock has been optioned, and we're looking at Goliath now, and I wrote a comedy called Dog Training the American Male, which we're going to be publishing probably after January, and it's a really funny story about a woman who's a radio talk show host for relationships, and none of her relationships ever work, and she ends up moving with a schlub of a guy who is not working things out, and he brings home a dog, and she ends up using dog training techniques on the guy to turn him around and the radio career around.
So you're always thinking, right? This is your full-time job, writing, and you keep coming up with ideas every day. Tell us, take that a day in Steve Alten. How's that work? You're constantly coming up with ideas, aren't you? Whenever it happens as a writer, correct?
Yeah, constantly working on ideas and writing, and I'm working on a hardback right now for could be my best story. And so it's exciting to get up every day and just go to my home office and work from 9 till 9 at night.
And know that you're your own boss, right, Steve? Because you had that job for so long at times, and it's nice to be working for yourself as an entrepreneur, right, and a writer. Just saying, this is me, this is my brand, and I can do what I need to do, right?
Yeah, but I've got a lot of help. I've got a great team of people, from artists to my managing partner who puts the books together, to my editors, and all people that I've met over the years that I've been able to work with and incorporate into the things that I do. And I'm just very privileged and lucky.
And I think also what's going to help with this film is just, I know you don't like comparing Jaws, but also all the shark attacks that happened this summer. People can really see the fear of that. It's really coming out. The shark is coming out in the mainstream big time, meaning the news and everything. So it'll definitely get people that have that fear and that thriller, right, to know when they get in the water what could happen, right?
Well, what's actually interesting is that over the last couple of weeks, these megalodon teeth have been washing up on shore, so megalodon actually is in the news for more ways than one.
That's great. That's for sure. Any other projects? So you talked about a bunch of the other projects. Where can we find information on you, Steve? Are there places we can check out your website, learn more about you? Where can we go?
If you go to www.stevealten.com, you can check out excerpts from all my books. You can look at book trailers from all my books, updates about the movie. You can sign up for a free monthly newsletter. I hold contests every 6 months to be a character in one of my upcoming books. So there's a lot of ways to get involved with my work. And there's my email address there, too. And I only have one email address, and it's the one I answer all of my own email. I've been doing that for 20 years, and you can find out information about the Adopt an Author program, which is a nationwide free reading program that I have for teenagers. Over 10,000 teachers have signed up for it, and it's completely free. And you can find out more about the new Meg book that's coming out next week.
Well, fantastic, Steve. It's exciting, all the different things you're doing, and you're living the dream. And as people have to listen on this show and watch on this show, they understand the famous people I've interviewed and the successful people. It doesn't happen overnight. Sounded like it was going to happen overnight, Steve, but now you're on that train and you're doing what you love. So best of luck to you. So thanks again for calling.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, take care, Steve. See you later. Okay, bye-bye. All right, that was the Neil Haley Show. Again, go to my website, toldtutor.net, for more information. Twitter, Told Tutor, Neil S. Haley. Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, and all the different places. Next week, another very exciting guest. Love being back in the studio, and some great guests coming our way. So take care, everyone, and we'll be on the show next week. So take care.